It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. Thedartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Dart Talk carries the Internet Broadcast Rating TVD, a broadcast that is specifically designed to be viewed or heard by the darting community, and therefore may be incomprehensible to other lesser mammals. Darter discretion advised.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Welcome.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
That's hard to get used to. Excuse me. Hi, everybody in the chat room around the world. Welcome to Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts.
Of course.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
I got a new phone.
This moving thing is wearing on me, but other than that, I'm doing all right. I'm almost done with it. So.
Almost wore out my dart arm helping you like lug stuff around the other day. Although I must say, it just hi to everybody in the chat room. Special shout out to Vince. Vince was one of the guys that I used to play with when I was living up in Antioch, and he's now living in Southern California.
All right.
And just happened to catch the show, sent me a nice email and stuff. So, Vince, get out to the NWDS. You got to play in that thing.
All right.
And shout out to the Dirty Bull. I don't know if that's the actual bar in Woodland Hills or not, but hi.
They won't respond, so maybe it is.
Hi, everybody else in the chat room. A lot to get to. We got some news. We got results. At least one rant, I'm thinking.
So you finally got a new phone.
I fired the BlackBerry.
Yeah.
It felt great. I was Donald Trump for 5 seconds. I got an iPhone 5. I don't know how to work it yet. But
did you get it yesterday?
Last night.
Yeah.
So I installed the Ustream app, and apparently
it doesn't work.
The channel's permanently off air.
Right.
So I don't know quite. Anybody got suggestions on how to work my iPhone, send them to darttalk@gmail.com. Also, you can follow us on Twitter @DartTalk. We put our first little quiz out on Twitter on Friday night, and we will announce the winner after the first break.
That.
We did. We got a lot of emails. And for you guys in the chat room, the question was, if you're on 25 and you have 2 darts in your hand and you have to double out, how many different combinations are there?
Right.
Which is not the number that you would immediately come to mind. So anybody in the chat room that's got that, feel free. What do you want to do first? We did the shout-out to Vince.
How about the disclaimer before we get involved with anything else?
Oh, a disclaimer. See, you are the best co-host in the business. Let's run it real quick.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect the thoughts or opinions of the hosts, our sponsors, any official Dart sanctioning organization, and post hoc ergo propter hoc, any and all spelunkers, debunkers, raconteurs, roustabouts, technocrats, hepcats, cat ladies, Lady Gaga, the Four Seasons, the Three Stooges, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, hipsters, kibitzers, hellions, the fickle finger of fate, or Tom Waits.
Okay. We disclaim any and all responsibility for any and everything we say. I'm a little frazzled. I'll tell you, it's exciting. I mean, it's like this. It's almost like the season is going to start next weekend, right?
What, the dart season?
Yeah, because I mean, there's a tournament in Youngstown. I doubt I'll be able to get to this weekend, but after that is like I always go to Indianapolis for the St. Pat's Open. That's going to be coming up. The week after that's Virginia Beach, which has the big like the long format seeded cricket singles on Friday. And then, it's, generally the biggest tournament of the year. Last year it was the Super Bowl. This year it is a major, for sure. And then, you get a week off for Easter and to tune up, and then you're in Vegas for the New World Dart Series, which, by the way, the deadline for registration is March 15th, I think. So you guys need to go to newworlddartseries.com and sign up if you haven't done that already. I don't know how many spots they have. I'm pretty sure, especially if you're female, you better hurry and sign up.
So basically, you come off the winter. You just played one weekend, and now all of a sudden, boom, you're getting thrown right into the fire soon,
Well, I played 3 tournaments already.
Yeah, okay.
Right, I started the season in Philly. 2 weeks later, I went to Vegas. 2 weeks after that, Alabama. 2 weeks after that, 3 weeks is Indianapolis, I guess.
Right.
So, I mean, it's kind of like when you start traveling 3 out of 4 weekends, that's when it really starts to get to you. And apparently I'm going to be driving out to Vegas, so I'm looking forward to that. I checked out the map because I've never driven to Vegas through Denver. Right? I'm like, this is going to be interesting. So
how do you usually? You drove there from L.A.
I actually drove there from New York, and we ended up on 40, like all the way till you get to, I don't know, Henderson, Kingman, Arizona. Then you pick up 15 and you go north or something like that. So I don't know. Anyway, babbling on. We'll do the hometown events real quick because I went to one. I didn't get to play in it. Remember I said I was going to go heckle?
Right.
Got there a little too late to heckle, but Jill was playing. And I can't. There's nothing more nerve-wracking than watching somebody play that you're like, close to.
Right.
You can't really do anything but sit there and watch. I don't know how like some of these dart wives do it, watching their guys play, or I don't know if it's worse for a husband watching a wife or anything, but you just sit there and I can't take it. I just can't take it. So the deal was they went down to the final for the women was best of 7, and my beloved Jill 3-3 is sitting on 68 for the win, goes fat, dead center bottom wire on the double 20 and ends up losing.
One shot at it.
Oh yeah, that was a tough one for her to shake off.
Yeah,
she may still not have recovered, but well played there, Jill. But
it's good for her though.
Well, yeah,
it's got to be a confidence builder any way you look at it.
That's kind of what I told her. I'm like, look, you got the toughest women's field in the city, and you're one dart away from winning it.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be able to take something positive away from that, which is easy to say.
Well, sure.
It's easy to say in retrospect, but and then I watched the men's final where it was one of the guys that I always heard about and never really get to see play more than 3 times a decade. Jesse Rivera made the final against Kurt Hartman, who's one of those guys that we've always talked about, a local guy that would do really well if he actually went anywhere, which he doesn't.
Right.
And Jesse Rivera's up 3-2. It's his throw. He's sitting on 111 and Hartman's on 135. He goes like fat 20, trip 17, shorted the double 20. Hartman goes up there, double bull, trip 15, tops to tie it. He's got the throw in the last leg and wins going away. Well played Kurt Hartman. Also well played Liz Tynan. They were the hometown winners in Chicago.
Unfortunately, I tried to make that tournament, but I missed out with my moving. I said I was going to dust off the darts, but I didn't make it.
Such a lamer.
I know.
Such a lamer. Because it's such a great day of darts.
Any excuse. I know. I wanted to go. I just couldn't do it.
And then after we went, there's a new dart bar. We went to Newport's for that blind draw. They threw up 3 new boards on the side wall, so they actually had 4 boards to play it on. And
instead of the 2 in that idiotic corner they have.
Or did they put up 2? No, they had 3 boards. Nice unicorn Eclipse boards. Great lighting. They fluorescent lighting. They built a little box on top of the thing, and I don't know. They had like 20, 25 guys. Whatever it was. It was a great crowd. And I'm talking to the guy, and he's talking about well, I don't know if I'm going to leave the boards up or just put them up once a month and la-di-da-di-da. And the local guys that play there were talking about wanting to play more, and I'm like. They're talking about getting in a league or something. And I'm like, to be perfectly honest with you, what you guys ought to do is just do an in-house league where you can play, even if you only get 5 guys, you play 4 singles matches every week. Just keep track of, how many legs you guys win, and everybody put in $10 a week, have the bar match it, divvy it up, after 10 weeks or something. And then once you get guys committed to playing and you want to go on the road and be, like playing the bar league, well, then go ahead. But I've convinced myself that the way to get people interested in playing over a long term is to do it this way. Because what happens
that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, what happens in Chicago is like when you have beginners, they play in a beginner league that's full of people that have been playing for 15 or 20 years. Now, if you've been playing 15 years and you're in a beginner league, I just don't. Our retention rate for new players is so low.
Yeah.
Right? There's got to be a way to improve it, and this is kind of like how I've concluded you should improve it. Right?
Right.
Get everybody in there once a week. Get them banging
well,
heads
it's easier
and playing
than
for
having
real.
to travel and worry about being at a certain place on time. You already know where you're going. It's most likely going to be close to your house anyway, or if not, you already know that how to get there and how long it takes, and that's where you want to be.
Well, plus you want to play.
Yeah.
You know, the bar leagues that we have, the constant problem is they got teams of 4, 5, 6 people. You're going to drive an hour across town, make whatever sacrifices you need to make to get out on a Tuesday night, and you're going to play 5 legs.
Right.
I could play 5 legs in 10 minutes if you hurry and you can chalk
if you hit
quick.
everything.
I'm just saying, it's like I don't see why anybody would like commit long term to playing darts if they're faced with a situation where they're going to drive across town. And then, play.
Yeah, eventually
like
it becomes a hassle.
All
of a sudden you're like, oh, I got darts tonight, and I got to go to so-and-so place.
And you need to learn to play. And the best place, to learn to play with your friends. Get some. You can organize something on your own. Get these guys playing.
Right, there's bragging rights with that, too. I mean, you get a little competition going. And
it's funny because when people see you playing, they're going to want to play. I mean, they started this draw a little bit late on Saturday, but there's people coming up, hey, can we play? Can we play? Can we play?
Right.
And by the time we were done, there was a line to use the dartboards. I mean, admittedly, it's a novelty for some people, and they don't know what they're doing. But it's
you get
not
the people
hard
that
to,
walk in and go, oh, you guys have Dart League, and they might be all of a sudden interested.
And then they tell 2 friends.
Right, and they tell 2 friends.
And they tell 2 friends, right? You see what I'm saying?
And so on. So is this bar? Are they going to have a blind draw once a month? Then is that?
I guess that was the deal.
Trying?
I managed to escape with the victory in the inaugural draw, but I don't think they're going to put my picture up or anything like that. But it was nice, and it was nice to see somebody new trying to get it going. And every time I see a new venue, I'm like, man, if you just do it right, you'll be so successful. And then eventually they're gone. So. It's not like anybody listens to me,
right?
Although they should. We had other.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, we had other hometown events. There was one in Metropolitan New York, as opposed to what, Cosmopolitan New York? I don't know. Congrats to Nick Conroy for winning that. Cleveland, Ohio, Brian Plum won it. Chicago, Kurt Hartman and Liz Tynan. Dallas, Texas, Sam Vaccaro, Shad Scott, Kenneth Parker, Morgan McCormick, and Susie Q. Hall. Nice turnout in Dallas. They qualified 5 people. That's awesome.
Susie Q. Hall.
And San Angelo, Texas. I don't know where that is. Azriel Telementes, Eddie Moore, and Lori Cole made it. At The Rock in Clifton, George Timponi, Jim Newman, and Karen Clancy got through. Congrats to them. Albuquerque, New Mexico had Chris Jarmillo. Jarmillo? I don't know.
I would guess Yarmillo.
Sterling, Virginia, Mark Fair. Thought he lived in Pennsylvania. He made it through along with April Thompson. Southern Florida, Joe Sliven, Rich Dantine Jr., and Brittany Joniak made it through. Photos, brackets, and results can be seen on the events page on the New World Dart Series Facebook page. And again, 2 weeks left for open registration. Registration closes on the 15th, so get your PayPal shoes on.
Yeah.
Go to newworlddartseries.com and sign up. It's going to be a fantastic event. I really can't wait. There's nothing like getting geeked up to play a tournament where you actually get to play a lot.
Right.
Win or lose.
Yeah, regardless, you're going to play a lot of darts.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Let's take our first break, and we will be right back. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark and Steve. Okay, back for the second quarter. Dart Talk brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Where were we? We have some news.
Yes.
Yeah, and I find
Which
this,
news would you like to start with?
Well, because I find this somewhat alarming, I want to talk about John Gwynn retiring from darts commentary on Sky Sports.
Why is that alarming?
Well, Sid Waddell passed away, and John Gwynn is the other guy that's been doing it for like 20 years. And so I read this press release, and sometimes, I start reading between the lines, and he's still going to do other sports for Sky, but he's getting off of darts.
Did he give a reason?
No.
Oh.
And not even the usual, banal garbage about spending more time with your family or something that's just,
Never works out anyway.
Well, I mean, it's like, that is just like the most lame excuse I've ever heard. I mean, at least be honest.
It's a box to stand on.
I got tired of doing it. They fired me. I hate my boss. The GM sleeping with my wife. Whatever reason it is that you're leaving, don't say it's to spend more time with your family.
And then 2 years later, you come back.
Didn't work out too well for like Ryan Sandberg.
None of them.
He retired and, found out what his wife was really like.
Yeah.
And, divorced and 2 months later, right? So, I don't know. Cub fan. That's a little bit of trivia for you.
There you go. Wasn't she sleeping with Mark Grace anyway?
I thought it was Greg Maddox.
Oh, was it
Maybe
Greg
it was
Maddox?
Both.
I don't
Who
know.
knows? I mean, it was kind of like right out of that movie Major League. But we're getting kind of getting a little off topic. The deal with John Gwynn retiring is I'm starting to wonder if Sky Sports and their dart broadcasts are either evolving in some way or if somehow they're in trouble. Like I went online to try to find ratings because the ratings for the Lakeside is done like on BBC, which is not a cable satellite pay channel, right?
Correct.
Sky Sports is kind of like getting FSN or something here, so you got to like pay like a premium.
Yeah, you got to get the sports package.
It's like your premium channel, your sports package, whatever, something like that. But I cannot see what their ratings are. So they seem to be rotating their sponsors a lot. Like if you look at certain,
do you think
tournaments,
he's being forced out and just saying he's retiring because they're going to slowly weed out that broadcast? Or
I don't know why. It doesn't really make any sense to me because he does a very good job. So anybody who knows why John Gwynn's bailing, I would sure like to know
because he's still working. He's just not retiring. He's just
right. So I'm a little confused why he'd be departing, and I haven't got a.
So what you can do? Soccer, or
that and horse racing or something. Yeah. So I don't know. I just found that kind of somewhat troubling. And then the other thing that I just kind of like made me shake my head was 80darts.com, the American Dart Organization, or as I like to call it, the American Diddle Organization,
right,
posted something about how they drug tested 4 people at the Las Vegas Open because it's a WDF event. Now, they have been putting on their flyers for quite a while, maybe 2 years, that there's going to be random drug testing at these tournaments, and nothing ever came of it. And lo and behold, they actually tested a few people, which I think is great. What bothers me...
Are they testing for anything or just everything?
Well, you cannot test for alcohol, and this is what one person was kind of like, well, unless they're testing for alcohol, why bother? Which I don't even know. Usually you're
Is there
testing
a PED
for...
that would enhance your dart game? Are they worried about that? Or they just don't want people smoking weed?
I don't know. I mean, I think that they generally, the standard screen is for TCH and opiates. So that would be like, marijuana, cocaine, and any derivative like that. And I assume like, some of these nefarious things like crack or something like that, or crystal meth. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine anybody playing darts under those circumstances and playing well. Although I've heard stories of, if they took like if they treated darts like they treated the Tour de France, where they froze blood samples and waited 10 years to test them, I'm not sure how many people would have retained the titles that they won back in the 80s. You hear all these stories, and who knows if they're true. I'm not go into that. However, the fact that they're now going
doing it,
that they're actually doing it, I think is great. The other problem that we're going to have, though, is what are you going to be if you're trying to get people to treat you as a serious sport, right? And I don't know what they do about bowling, but at some point they're going to have to address drinking, which I had the perfect solution for, by the way. Like, I don't know, 15 shows ago.
Right, yeah.
No. I said what they should do is have a portable breathalyzer up, where you do sign-ups, where you can, like, go in there and see what your alcohol content is. And then when you get to, like, the money rounds, if you blow over the limit, and so you're not driving, it doesn't have to be like, whatever the driving limit is, but let's say it's like if the driving limit's 0.08, it was 0.12.
Right. You want to make your own limit.
If you blow above 0.12, you're disqualified.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now you can guarantee.
What's the purpose, though? I mean, what's the purpose for not wanting somebody inebriated?
The purpose is that if you want to treat it as a serious sport, you have to guarantee to the fans that the players aren't like bombed.
That they're serious,
right? That they're serious.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm pretty sure this is a totally unpopular thing to do because, I think more players drink when they're playing than don't drink while they're playing. The PDC's rule is that there's no alcohol on the stage.
Right.
And then they take these little 5-minute breaks and, I don't know what goes on in the back room if guys down a pint or, whatever. But when it doesn't seem to affect the PDC any. Right?
Exactly.
As far as this stuff goes.
Right.
And they drug test their players. And it may be more about reassuring the public and the bookies because the bookies sponsor all the tournaments in England. Right?
Right.
It just seems to me that if you're trying to guarantee this kind of thing to the powers that be so that you can tell them we are a real sport, at some point this is going to have to be addressed in some way, shape, or form.
So you might as well start doing it.
Well, I mean, I consider this progress. If they're going to be
especially
drug
if they're saying
testing the players.
if they're going to petition to be an Olympic event,
well,
which is what who knows if that'll ever happen, but that's also the point.
The whole notion
it has to become a real sport.
There's two schools of thought here. One is PEDs, which are things that help you.
Yeah,
and there are things like guys on the PGA Tour back in the 70s and early 80s were taking beta blockers to slow down their heart rate, right? So they would, could focus better. There's like focus factor. There's all sorts of things. I heard there was something called blackout that people were taking that was supposed to like help your focus. You got NFL players now getting bagged on Adderall.
Right.
And Adderall is like basically a combination of a focus thing, but there's also some sort of amphetamine kind of quality to it where I don't think it's fair that you're taking something like that. So I don't know. I mean, if you go to ADOdarts.com and they have a little news thing, and they could point you to the World Anti-Doping Agency, and maybe they'll show you what they're testing for.
Yeah, right.
But everybody needs to be aware, and actually everybody needs to support this. I
agree.
I don't think anybody wants to deal with this stuff anymore. I mean, it's not the 80s. You know what I'm saying?
No, I
it's
agree.
Like you show up and you play and you want things to be fair and let the best man win, and we're all about that, right? So I just found that, I don't.
No, I agree with you, though. It's about time, though, and I mean, they say they're going to do it, at least they're doing it.
Yeah, and I felt bad because, I've been ripping on the WDF like they're useless and everything like that, and here they actually did something that I approve of, and I'm like, man, now I have to say something nice about them. That hurts. That hurts me. Because I don't like them. I don't like the way they do things. However,
yes, but you should want to always say something good about somebody, and then when they start changing their ways, you're going to have to say something good about them. You can't always be detrimental all the time.
Well, yeah, that doesn't mean I have to like it, though. I just gave them a shout out and gave them an attaboy. I'm just not real happy about it.
Okay.
But thanks, Dad. So anyway, we do have results. The Port City. Great tournament that, again, I couldn't go to this year. We've got the results from that. You want to
do that right now?
Yeah, and then I got a few things to say about Port City. Where are we on time? We are at...
We're almost
let's
break.
do... Yeah,
you
go ahead.
Let's do break? Or
No. Let's do it now.
All right, so we got the Friday mixed doubles. We got tied for third and fourth, Trish Gressick, Larry Butler, Shannon Mahoney, and Pat McKeon. Second place, Natalie Bolduc and Martin Tremblay, with Stacy Bromberg and Darren Young winning that.
Natalie Bolduc.
Bolduc.
And a shout out to Pat McKeon. Well played there, Pat.
Instead of Bolduc? Okay.
Bolduc.
Bolduc makes more sense.
It's the French-Canadian thing.
Draw doubles, top 4, Del Hodgkins and David McQuaid with Michael Hartford and Bill Bell. Second place, Yanni and Scott Tedeschi. Jim Woodmayer and Corey Tibbetts wins that one.
Okay, well played to those guys.
Saturday's results, mixed doubles, top 4, Kent Sear, Nancy LeGros, Betty Cunningham and Tom Curtin, Donna Lemieux and Levi Remick for second, and Jim Woodmayer, Robin Curry for first.
Okay, some familiar names there.
Women's doubles 501, Holly Frary.
That's a hard
Donna Lemieux and then Pam and Vicky Briggs.
We need a nickname for Pam and Vicky.
Really? Why is that?
I don't know. We gave the Whisper Twins. I thought was good. They're 2 of my favorites.
Now
we we got to come up with something for them.
I'm sure you will.
All right.
Callie West, Robin Curry second with
There's another
Carolyn Mars and Gail Payne winning the women's doubles 501.
Gail Payne. Oh, nice to see Carolyn Mars get out. And Callie West and Robin Curry, they play together a lot. We need a nickname for them, and the Whisper Twins is taken.
Right.
So we'll probably, I don't know, have to do
You're going to have to write this down.
Yeah, okay. Well, you're supposed to remind me.
I do. You don't remember every time I remind you.
I've been busy.
Men's doubles 501. Top 4, Claude Seguin, Ramo Lapointe, Tom Baumgartner, and Levi Remick. Second place, Jeff Smith, Darren Young, Tom Sawyer, and Tom Curtin winning that.
Tom, all right.
Women's singles cricket, Robin Curry, Patty Walls for third and fourth. Stacy Bromberg second with Callie West winning that. Men's singles cricket, Jim Woodmayer, Tom Sawyer, top 4 with Jeff Smith second and Larry Butler first.
Jeff Smith. I mean, what is a Canadian doing making the cricket final? He did it the year I was there, too. Yeah, heck of a player.
Canadians don't play cricket?
They don't. They play mostly 0-1.
Oh.
So cricket must be a novelty, but there's so many good cricket players coming out of Canada. I don't understand that. Just saying. Just interjecting.
Are they only supposed to play 501, though, just because that's
most
what
of their
normally
tournaments
play?
are 0-1.
So are you trying to say he got lucky?
No, I did not say that. I said
okay,
he's a heck of a player, and
All
right. Obviously he knows how to play cricket. I mean, you look at the names in the top 4. He got by one of them,
right?
And they're both cricket playing madmen. So, congrats to Larry Butler for winning that. I think he swept the singles.
Saturday draw doubles top 4: Martin Tremblay, Vic Barr, Henry Lavielle, and Levi Remick. Scott Tedeschi and Jason Dianol.
Yeah, I'm bad with the French
for second, with Jeff Smith and J.R. Emery winning the draw doubles.
Okay.
And then you got Sunday mixed triples, top 4, Mark Look, Monique Helavanich, Jim White, Donna Lemieux, Levi Remick, and Tom Baumgartner for top 4. Larry Butler, Ryan Barnett, Trish Kresick for second, and Jim Woodmeyer, Bruce Robbins, and Robin Curry win the mixed trips.
Okay, well played to them.
Sunday's women's doubles cricket, top 4, Natalie Bolduc, Camila Bunnell.
I think it's Bunnell.
Trish Hanna and Catherine Peters. Betty Cunningham and Patty Walls second, with Callie West and Robin Curry winning that. Your men's doubles cricket goes to top 4, Jeff Steinberg, Pat McKeon, and John Kehoe and Bob Given, with Larry Butler and Ryan Barnett second, and Tom Curtin and Tom Sawyer winning that.
All right, Tom swept the doubles.
They seem to be doing pretty well there. Women's singles 501, top 4, Callie West, Donna Lemieux, Carolyn Mars second, and Stacy Bromberg wins the singles. And your men's singles 501, Tom Curtin, Bill Bell, top 4, with Tom Sawyer second, and Larry Butler first. And then finally, your Sunday youth events, 12 and under, first goes to Josh Demers, and second to Kaylee Roy. 13 plus, first goes to Paul Costellas, and second goes to Danny Munson.
Okay, well played to everybody. So you can't even do like a Benefer with Robin and Callie.
No.
I mean, Robbie, Callan, I mean, nothing works.
Oh, I'm sure you'll figure something out.
Westry, Curist. I mean, nothing. I don't know. They need a nickname.
Curist.
Robin and Callie need a nickname.
Curist.
But that doesn't sound good.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
No.
I don't know. Tom had a good tournament. It's good to see Curtin got out somewhere.
Yeah, they could be Tom squared.
That's nice. You know, you look at some of these names. Like I see Carolyn Mars now like every 3 years, and you know she was like one of the top women back when I first started playing, and she kind of dropped off the map. She doesn't travel much, but I remember this tournament was the one where I think I played like 7 matches of my first 11. Somebody started out with a ton 80, and I was just like, who are all these guys?
Right.
There's some great players in Portland, Maine. So that was kind of cool. All right, let's take our second break, and we'll be back. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark and Steve. Okay, back for the second half. Dart Talk brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks Redwood Darts and Windy City Fabricators.
So,
where were we?
Oh, well, we just got done with the results.
Portland, yeah, Port City.
Why, well, other than making up nicknames for all these people, how come you did not go to Port City this weekend?
Oh, well, it's one of those things where it's very difficult living in Chicago to commit to these East Coast tournaments when the weather is so squirrely.
Yeah.
Right? The last time I went out there, I literally got turned around in midair, flew and got back in Chicago while somebody's sitting at the airport waiting for me in a blizzard to show up because they didn't cancel the flight. They tried to squeeze it in there, I guess. And I guess the weather in New York got worse. I ended up having to fly into Boston, have somebody pick me up and drive up and all this other stuff. And it's sort of like...
You never know what's going to happen. It's
just, and it's, you know, it's awfully hard to, you know, plan this.
Actually,
these winter
last weekend would have been a bear.
And I don't, you know, we're getting a little better. When I first started on the circuit like 4 or 5 years ago, man, there were so many tournaments in January and February. I mean, it was like literally you could play every single weekend until the middle of March. And I was like, how come everything is in the wintertime? Because it's very difficult to travel.
Yeah.
And if they could move some of these around a little bit, it would be great. I mean, it was really cold in Alabama. We were in Alabama a couple of weeks ago. It was like, I don't know, 30 degrees or something. It was snowing sideways and stuff. I mean, it's just, it's brutal.
It's the way the world is. They just got 14 inches in Texas.
Well, and I know they had
snowing in Arizona. It's just crazy.
Yeah, well, it's going to be harder and harder to travel in the winter. So, some of these tournament people need to start kind of planning ahead and being like, is there any way we can make it later in the year?
Mm-hmm.
It would be much easier, I think, if you were going to have 3 tournaments a month, to have them in June and May and July than it is to have them in January and February. For one, people, have vacation time. The kids are out of school. Maybe they could turn it into like a family thing.
Right.
Right? That's another thing. They need some sort of daycare for kids if they're not going to be running. Like Virginia Beach is great about this. They have youth events running all weekend long, so the kids are occupied. There's a swimming pool and a jacuzzi for them to play in. So if you bring your kids to Virginia Beach, and it'd be nice if it was a little later in the year where the weather was nice.
Yeah.
Then you could use the beach. That's the great thing about. We were in Atlantic City for the PDC last year, and it was like, I think the weekend after Labor Day. It was awesome. I mean, it's like the sun was shining. It was like 80 degrees. The water was warm. It's like, awesome.
Right.
Now if we could just start getting people off of these events. It was funny. I talked to the tournament director for Port City, and, we had talked last year because, he was kind of giving me an update on how things got fixed and stuff. And he's like, well, how would you go about seeding a tournament? And I'm like, well, for you guys, it would kind of be a pain. If you're doing it, who keeps texting you? You're killing me with this.
Somebody's just giving me an update on the Georgetown UConn basketball game. It went in double overtime. He just wants to let me know how it's going.
I just can't relate to a life outside of darts. I mean, if somebody was
There's some basketball action that happens every now and then.
They were texting you an answer to why John Gwynn was leaving, I'd be all for it. But no. I know it's on vibrate, but I hear zzz, zzz.
Well, yeah, he's just...
I keep thinking I'm going to get electrocuted here.
No. He's just texting me the results.
Anyway, so I was trying to explain to him, how you could seed it, like from a technical standpoint.
Now, why would it be... You just said for him. Why would it be different between his tournament and somebody else's?
A lot of these tournaments are run in a way that is sort of like that was developed before everybody had PCs and iPads and all this other stuff. So you like literally have a little slip that's like has 2 carbons in it. So you sign up, write your name, check off what the event is, and it's in triplicate. That you keep a copy.
So the way Windy City was.
Yeah,
right.
And a lot of tournaments do it the same way. And then one goes in the bracket board, and they kind of move them around and stuff like that. And he's like, well, how would you go about seeding? I'm like, well, you got to pick a list that you're going to seed from. And then when people sign up, look on the list, see how far down they are, and you take the top 16, you stick them in a separate pile. And then, everybody else is in the other pile. And then you take the 16 slips of the seeded players, you put them in, separate brackets.
16, right.
Right, separate quarters or separate eighths, whatever it is. And then you fill in everybody else.
Right.
Not hard. And then he's like, well, which list? And I'm like, oh, God, well, okay. Your hose there.
Yeah.
But we will have a very good list by September. Once we've had, there's been, some PDC events last year, there's going to be more this year, and you're going to have a really good list.
Be all, though, is every tournament can seed however they want. So, I mean, people are going to complain regardless, but if you have seeding, it's still going to be more fair than not seeding. There's going to be some people that are going to be like, well, why am I seeded here? But in effect, it's still going to be better.
Yeah, well, we dispelled all the notions a couple shows ago, right? We don't need to start doing that again, right? The other thing he was talking about was, when events fall behind. And I explained to him, and we didn't get to this last week, but they did something in Alabama, something new that they hadn't done up till then. And what they did was everybody signed up on slips, and then they literally hand wrote. I believe what they did was they had somebody in the back handwriting the names, and then they entered those names into the computer, and the computer spit out a random bracket. Then they printed up the bracket and posted it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had a guy in front of the big easel that had the big bracket, and they had like little Post-it notes with the board numbers, and they would just stick a Post-it note when you were up. So you could literally walk by, see what board you were on, and go to it. And you could also see, okay, I'm waiting for this match, I'm waiting for that match.
Right.
And I thought it was a great solution for getting people to the board. Now, there's always going to be some people that kind of like are stalling for one reason or another. But it seems to me that it's incumbent on the professionals to get to the board in a timely manner.
Right.
Because what happens is if the top players, and I'm not picking on anybody, but, look at the list. I mean, you get a lot of the same names when all we do is read top four. Like, let's say Curtin and Sawyer, who are very good at coming to the board on time. Let's say they were known for always being late. Well, then why should you be on time?
Yeah, when you know you're going to play them.
And so it works both ways. If the top players are always late to the board, then all the other people are going to be like, well, if he's late to the board, why should I be on time? If all the top players are at the board on time, then everybody's going to be like, oh, well, I guess the way it works is you get to the board in a timely manner, right?
Which is the way it should be.
Well, yeah, you talk about setting an example.
Yeah.
If the top players are always late to the board, these events are never going to run on time. Right. And if you're going to
have multiple events, that's the whole point. I mean,
well, yeah.
You miss your tee time, you're disqualified.
Yeah. Exactly. And nobody wants, the tournament directors, by and large, are very good about the last resort is DQing somebody.
Of course.
And nobody wants to win by a forfeit, but at the same time, enough is enough. I was at a tournament last year where there's one, I'm not going to mention his name, but there's one guy who's notorious for never showing up until he gets third called.
What's the point?
Well, I don't know. I never really asked him, what is your deal?
Yeah.
And he never seemed to even care. But I was at this tournament where they told him specifically, if you get second called more than twice, you're DQ'd. He showed up at the board on time.
Well, there you go.
So, it's weird. You don't want to be a jerk about things, but at the same time, if you're going to stay on top of these events and keep them running, then by the end of the night, you're not 3 hours behind or 2 hours behind or what have you. I had people...
Which nobody wants anyway. You would think. That's why you would think all the players would want to be there on time, because most of these players are playing in multiple events. They're,
right.
Well, they anticipate moving on further into the one event, and then that's going to, flow into the next event.
Yeah.
So you would think they would want to be on time.
Well, nobody wants to be waiting around, but it's kind of weird. What I was telling the Port City guys, I was like, look, I mean, some of these players that, are constantly playing because they made top four and now the next event started and they made not. And so they're going from event to event to event without a break. I mean, at some point, you got to take care of business.
Sure.
Right? So I can see how, maybe before your first round, you need 10 minutes. What I told him I would like to see every tournament start doing is scheduling 45 minutes. Like, let's say between 2 and 2:45 in the afternoon, where you tell everyone in the dart hall, we will not call a match between 2 and 2:45. So if you want to go get something to eat, or you need to run an errand, or whatever it is that you need to do, you can plan on doing it between 2 and 2:45. If there's a restaurant in the lobby, let them know, hey, come like between 1:45 and 2:45. You're gonna get hit. You're gonna get slammed. Be ready for it. I'm sure they'd be grateful to know. Oh, okay. Well, make sure that the cook stays an hour later. Whatever. I mean, there's a way to work it out. But I have never seen a tournament schedule a break for the players. And some of these tournaments, I mean, they're running 4 events on a Saturday. I mean, really? I think everybody would appreciate that. And
do you think you'd have a problem, though, with the people coming back from the break and delaying the start?
I don't know. I don't think... I think if you did it this way, you'd have fewer people that are like being late to the board because they didn't have time to take care of something necessary. Right. I don't want to be too explicit.
Yeah,
but,
no, I can see that.
I mean, you know, people need to eat. People need to, take care of personal business and stuff. On Sundays, you have to check out of the hotel. They need to paint
their toenails, whatever. It doesn't matter.
I mean, on Sunday mornings, you got to check out of the hotel. People that are traveling with families, they got to take care of their kids. There's all sorts of stuff that you need to take care of. And if they would just build in a little break time in there, I think you'd get more cooperation from the players when it comes to like, okay, you had your break. Get to the board now. Yeah. Oh, well, okay. You see what I'm saying?
I can agree with that.
And if you end up like, they call you at 1:45 and your match isn't done till 2:15, you still have a half hour, and they could kind of look at the bracket and say, you know what, you're good till 3. Go get something to eat. Go, whatever. I mean, it just seems to me that the way they run the events, the players are kind of at the mercy of a schedule that they don't set, and they have absolutely no control over. And when things start really falling behind, what are you going to do? So this seems to me to be an easy fix.
Especially because there's no time limit on every match.
Right.
Doesn't,
especially you're running cricket.
Yeah,
I mean,
it doesn't help.
I think they were smart in Portland. The year I went, cricket was on Sunday. They had cricket doubles on Sunday and then followed by cricket singles.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's smarter to do 501 on Sunday just because it's a shorter event, and Sunday after the tournament you got to start breaking down the boards and all this other stuff. So I think for the tournaments, it's easier for them if they do 501 on Sunday, and do the cricket on Saturday. And just for the tournament directors that tune in, we get a few. But I like the idea of building in a lunch break.
No, I do too.
I think that everybody's going to be, it puts you in a better mood, too.
Not only that, and then it limits even more excuses, like you said. All right, you've had your break, get to the board on time. You already knew when it was going to be.
Right.
Plan accordingly. At least you're giving some, construction to it. Yeah. Plan around this so you know what's going on. And
if you do that, in exchange, you can dog the players to be on time.
Exactly.
And they shouldn't have any issue with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I'm saying. Where are we? Time to take our third break. So you're listening to Dart Talk with Mark and Steve. We'll be back for one more in a minute.
Oh.
Okay, back for the fourth quarter. Brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Let's do Premier League.
In case you're curious, Georgetown won the game. Just to let you know, their most recent update. It did not go into a third overtime. So.
Is Georgetown where the guy's kid is
the coach now?
See,
yes.
I can't root for a team that does that.
Right.
Because that's what DePaul did. They get
with
Ray
Myers
there for 42 years, and all of a sudden
they groom his son
in a country of 300 million people. You couldn't find anybody better but the guy's kid. Well, that's garbage.
Right.
That is just nothing irks me more than stuff like that. Like they inflicted Chip Carey on us.
Yes.
Right? Because of the 550,000 journalism students that graduated in the time Harry Carey was broadcasting, they couldn't find anybody more qualified than the guy's grandkid.
No,
Give me a break.
He just was
able
to get a leg up.
You're never. Yeah, I got a leg up for him.
Yeah,
I got a leg for him. Just
All right,
have a mask.
so anyway, just to let you know, I just figured you might want to know that. But anyway, on
Yeah,
to
I
the
don't really
Premier
care.
League.
I Georgetown.
You would like
so
to
the Premier
look-
League, I
yes.
think we went like 2-2-1 last
Not
week.
a good week on our picks.
No, but we're hanging in there. Nobody had a good week last week.
Okay.
This week, the Scots play each other. Robert Thornton's playing Gary Anderson. I don't know. Thornton's playing pretty good, probably playing the best starts of his life. And I think if you ask anybody, they'll all say, well, Gary Anderson's better, but,
Okay.
you know.
But what?
But he doesn't play consistently as well as everybody thinks he should. He's kind of like you got the overachiever versus the underachiever. So then, you know, for me, I'll just look at the most recent, say 6 weeks, 2 months.
Yeah.
What's their level of play? And it's very difficult to maintain a high level of play week in, week out, month in, month out. Nobody seems to be able to do that. Everybody has their little lulls and stuff like that.
It's like that in every sport.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the thing about Anderson is that I wonder about is whether he plateaued, which I don't like that word, but whether he plateaued like literally like 18 months ago or something like that. He lost the final to Adrian Lewis, and ever since then he's been lost. He had personal issues. His father died, stuff like that. He had health problems, I think. So I say we go with Thornton.
All right. I'm in.
You're in for that? Okay.
I'm in for that.
Andy Hamilton is playing MVG, Michael Van Gerwen.
Wouldn't you just go with Van Gerwen?
You'd have to be insane not to.
Right.
I mean, you'd have the only reason not to is because Hamilton is kind of the slow, deliberate type, and Van Gerwen plays basically as fast as a human can. Whether
I don't
or
think
not
that's
he
gonna
can
affect
adjust to
him.
that, it doesn't seem to bother him
anymore.
And I've seen guys. You know, I've watched matches where there's like a real fast player playing a really slow player, and the slow player will almost play even slower than normal because he thinks it will.
Thinks it's working.
And it never does. I mean, once you learn that it's like, okay, I get a little 10-second break here or 15-second break, whatever it is, people deal with it.
Yeah.
The last guy I've seen like really have a cow was when Wes Newton played Justin Pipe, and that was the last time.
But in effect, the rhythm is more of once you get to the line and throw. It's not the 10 to 25 seconds you have before you're in between turns.
Well,
if you can deal with it, right?
As long as the interval between your throws is consistent, then I would think it's not going to bother your rhythm that much. You might have to take a little more care on your first start, but after that, it's about the same. I don't see the slow play being the factor it was 2 years ago in these PDC matches. So, and that's the only reason I would think Hamilton. I think Van Gerwen's a superior player, and you know, given the way he's played in the last few months, vastly superior.
You got to take him.
Yeah, so we got Van Gerwen and Gary Anderson. James Wade's playing Phil Taylor.
Well, we take Phil Taylor every week.
It gets boring, but to be honest,
how can you not?
It just seems like no matter what James Wade does, Taylor will do something to beat him. Like he'll go back-to-back 170 outs, or he'll throw back-to-back 10-darters. He'll just do something. There's just something about when Taylor plays Wade, no matter what Wade does, Taylor finds a way to win.
Right.
And Wade plays great and still, you know, can't get by him.
Over the hump.
Just like Taylor's got his number, right? So, yeah.
So we're taking Taylor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
Wes Newton against Adrian Lewis. I so want to take Wes Newton. I mean, I don't think either of these guys have won yet this year. Wes is for sure 0 for 2.
Isn't this week 4?
That was week 3.
Oh, was it week 3?
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe it is week 4.
I think it's
I
week
lose
4.
count.
Not that it matters, but
I bet you could get a pretty good price on Wes. And it's one of those things where because Adrian Lewis is going to approach this match with so much utter confidence, I'm reluctant to bet against him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you put him in a corner.
Well, especially, if he hasn't won yet this year.
Wow.
In this.
I don't know. I'm so I really want to take Wes Newton here.
Well, I'm not going to stop you.
Okay, so we'll take Wes.
We can go with the upset.
Yeah. He didn't help us in the first week, but
it's all right.
We've been wrong on him.
We can go with
week.
Wes.
And then the last one is Raymond Van Barneveld and Simon Whitlock.
Mm-hmm. It's a toss-up.
That would be the tie. That would be the natural
That would be the tie.
I like the way Barney's been playing. Whitlock had a tough week last week. He lost 7-5. I don't know. I'll let's just say Van Barneveld.
I mean,
that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, I wish that I could have watched last week's. I'm gonna make a concerted effort to watch tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But I love these Premier League things.
What's it on?
Is it on? Great. It's on
NBC Sports.
No. NBC is showing the. It looks to me like they started replaying last year's World Cup of Darts.
Okay.
And then
right.
I'm waiting for them to put in this year's.
Mm-hmm.
So I had it on the DVR, but sometimes that description isn't accurate.
Right.
So it looked to me like it didn't tape last night, and then I looked, and it was looked like a replay. So I don't tape the replays.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
If anybody knows if they've started 2013, send something so we know.
So this is on what?
This is on on the internet on Sky
okay.
Sports.
All right.
So everybody knows how to find Sky Sports on the internet, I'm assuming. If you don't, send an email to darttalk@gmail.com. I will try to help you out. Just a reminder, okay, we have to give a shout out to the guy who won the quiz. We'll figure out some way of rewarding our quiz people. So, yeah, the answer to the quiz was how many different ways can you take out 25?
We had one person say 13 in the chat, but after that, nobody really responded.
Okay, yeah, the correct answer is 14. And the reason that a lot of people missed it was that they didn't count on the triples that you can hit to take out...
to take out 25 with 2 darts.
To take out 25. So 111 works, 333 works, 555 works, and 777 222 works. So there's actually 14 different ways to take out 25, which, I found to be a surprising number.
Right.
I usually just throw a fat 9. And I toyed one night with going fat 11 double 13, fat 13 double 11, which seemed to be kind of an interesting way of doing it, but it's got bust written all over it, so I wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
Why would you do that? Just because it's the right side of the board? Is the right side of the board's easier?
Because they're close to each other. That's all. It's an easy adjustment. I find it I think it's much easier to take out 60 than 59 because your first dart can help you, whereas on 59, it's not like you're going to throw a marker. Sure. Right, something like that. So Nathan Perks, congratulations. You were the first guy with the right answer. And I'm going to keep track of who wins, and eventually we'll have something for you. Mm-hmm. We got to figure out what to do with Gary's flights, the 9 dart flights that he autographed. Did you give that any thought? Any of the listeners, if you guys, we want to do something special with those. So if you guys got any suggestions, just email them to darttalk@gmail.com. Don't forget, you could find us on iTunes. You could find us on Stitcher.com. You can find us on TuneIn.com. We have our own Facebook page. Just look for Dart Talk.
Yes, we do.
And we have our own YouTube channel, which you all should subscribe to. So when we upload the video, if you can't listen to us live, which most people can't, it'll send you an email when it's up.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're friends with me on Facebook, I usually post a link and stuff like that. What else? Got anything? We were going to talk about the Foehn wind.
What is the Foehn wind?
Okay, here's the deal. Okay, and
if you could do this real quick.
Yeah, I guess we're going to have to. Here's the deal.
The Foehn wind.
I made, as usual, I made one comment that, stuck in somebody's head much longer than one would expect. So we used to joke around, especially Jill and I, because she's constantly saying things like, I don't understand why it missed. It felt good. And I'm like, well, if something feels good and doesn't go in, the reason it feels good is that you had a clean release, okay? Doesn't mean you were aligned properly. Doesn't mean anything except that, when it left your fingers or when it left your hand, it felt the way you wanted to feel.
Exactly.
So why did it miss? Well, obviously, you didn't aim in the right spot or something else happened. You dropped your elbow, right? You took it back inside or outside the target line. You did like a little rainbow deal, something, right? But we were joking around that, well, the only explanation could be sunspots. Where the ionosphere is, out of whack. So I was watching Gary Mawson and Darren Young playing.
That would not be my phone, by the way.
I guess that's my phone.
That would be the iPhone.
Yeah, that's kind of a pleasant
Not
ring.
my phone.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously somebody's still going to ring me. Hopefully that doesn't signal that, the show's not going through.
Yeah.
Anyway, the deal is somebody sent an email.
By the way, next week, turn your ringer off.
I didn't know how. I thought that I hit it. I thought I put it on like.
There's a volume button on the
work.
side.
Yeah, but it's in the case, so I'm
okay.
doomed. So it's going to just mess up the show. It's probably,
all right.
somebody doing it on purpose just to hurt me. Anyway, the idea, though,
sunspots.
Yeah. So we got an email from a guy that says, this thing with the sunspots, why do you say stuff like that? La-di-da-di-da. So I was like, you know what? Maybe he's right. Maybe sunspots aren't the answer. So I'm watching the World Cup of Darts in Germany, and I cannot figure out what was I. The German guy misses something he has no business missing because he'd been playing so well, and I'm like, maybe it's the Foehn wind. Right now, the Foehn wind is basically
enlighten me.
Yeah, okay. A Foehn wind has
Foehn.
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 I think is what it is.
Yes.
The concept behind the Foehn wind is it's also known as the witch's wind. And what happens anywhere in the world that you live around mountains, what will eventually happen is the weather patterns are such that the prevailing wind reverses itself. And so instead of like an onshore wind that comes in off Southern California, when the high pressure builds up over the desert to a point, it'll start blowing the opposite direction. So in Los Angeles, they call it the Santa Anas. So when the wind comes in off the desert, it's really, really hot and really, really windy. You get like 50-knot winds with this heat coming from the desert. And it's the kind of wind where, domestic violence goes up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have air conditioning, that kind of thing.
Right.
So the Foehn wind in Germany goes all the way back to when they thought the Black Forest was haunted or something. And I think it's coming in off the Alps or something. And I was thinking, well, maybe it's the Foehn wind instead of sunspots.
Okay.
So why would the English be immune to the Foehn wind? If the Foehn wind is the reason why guys are missing.
Why would they be?
Yeah.
Because they have no mountains.
Well, no, because it's tied into the mystery of Stonehenge. I'm convinced of this.
Oh.
So the reason that the English are basically immune to the Foehn wind has something to do with why they built Stonehenge.
In order to stop the Foehn wind.
To stop the ill effects of the witch's wind, the Foehn wind, which is what they call it in Germany.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. That's my theory.
How would Stonehenge curtail the...
Hey, I'm not a druid. I wouldn't know exactly the mechanics
the engineering
of why,
reasoning behind it?
I wouldn't really know that. I'll look into it for everybody if they like.
Okay.
But that was the deal with the Foehn wind.
All right.
So anyway, okay, I just thought that was amusing. So let's wrap it up.
So it's no longer sunspots, it's the Foehn wind.
No, now it's the Foehn wind.
Okay.
We're off sunspots. So you guys can stop with the sunspot emails.
It was the Foehn wind.
It was the Foehn wind.
Yeah. All right.
An ill wind must blow.
I got it.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week at our normal time, and then I think we're going to have to change to Tuesday the week after.
Oh, really?
Because I'm driving out to Virginia Beach.
Oh,
yeah, well,
okay.
You missed the pre-show.
I did.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks to our sponsors, thedartzone.com, Redwood Darts, and Windy City Fabricators. We'll be back next week at 7:30 Wednesday night, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific.
Yep.
I don't know what it is in Greenwich. 6 hours, 1:30 in the morning, whatever. Anyway, everybody, let me find the end credits. Thanks for listening.
Good luck in your darting endeavors this weekend.
Absolutely, and we'll dart talk to you next week. Take care.